This presentation is about marriage as a vocation. It was given by Mike and Heather Kidd at Camp Veritas in August of 2010.
I have the wonderful privilege of introducing two people who have been in my life for a long time. I've seen them together, apart from each other, and I watched their relationship blossom into something very beautiful. Okay, honestly, I met Heather and Mike this past week, so no, that was true. But tonight, Heather and Mike are going to come and give their testimony, so give them a round of applause.
All right. Hallelujah. Nice.
It's okay.
This is why you get married. All right. Let's start with a prayer. Thank you, Lord, so much for all my little brothers and sisters at this camp. Thank you for bringing them into our lives. Please bless this night, give us the right words to say, and help them find the same joy that we found in our married life or in their vocation. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen.
Guys? Oh, wait. You guys ready? No, we're not going to do that today. Alright, guys, I think most of you know me. I know probably more of the guys than the girls. So I think most of you guys know me. I'm Mike. This is my first time on this side of the microphone, so I'm a little bit nervous. I got my cards. I'm going to try not to forget anything, but who knows. Anyway, we've heard a bit about vocations today, and what we're going to talk about is love and marriage. Ew. A few of you guys are probably wondering why exactly we're talking about marriage. We got 7th graders here and high school guys, a lot of you probably aren't dating or maybe not allowed to date. So why exactly are we talking about marriage? But the thing is, marriage is a vocation that we need to start on now. It's pretty important that we have this talk, and it's really tough to cram it all into one 2-hour talk. I'm kidding. I'm going to leave you guys at least 15 minutes for swimming. Alright, so when we decided to do a marriage talk this year, I was like, oh great, we got lots of really holy married couples here. Grandma and Grandpa Young, I don't know where there's Grandma. They've been married for 44 years. But they're obviously a little bit busy, so okay, we got Ryan and his wife Elizabeth. Some of you guys have met them. We got 13 years. Ryan's been talking all day, so maybe not Ryan. We got Rob, and you guys don't know his wife Kara. They've been married for 10 years. Me and Heather, almost 2 years. So guess who got kids? Now, there's actually a practical reason for this. We're still new to the marriage thing. We remember what it's like to be in your guy's shoes, the dating game. We're still learning marriage, and I guess our experience is going to be a little bit more close to what you guys are experiencing in your day-to-day lives. And I guess what we want to get across today mostly is that we want you guys to date with a purpose. You need to remember that the point of dating is to find a spouse. It's not, obviously you're going to have fun, you're going to enjoy the person, but the point is eventually to find the person you are going to be with for the rest of your life. That's really what we're talking about here. So this is kind of a half testimony, half talk. Here comes the story part. To give you guys some background on me, I went to Catholic school my whole life, all the way through. I went to Catholic school. There we go. My entire life, all the way through high school. I was told to go to mass, but I've never really caught on. I was forced to go to mass. So I knew I should go to confession. I never really took a big effort. My mom would force me. I did pray night. There's always that seed of Catholicism in me that never went away, but I never really nurtured it, so it just kind of stayed dormant. So I go to college, and I was like just about any other guy. You're going looking for girls with nice personalities. And, just basically looking to have a good time. It doesn't. You don't think beyond the next couple months. You want to find someone who's fun, who's attractive, and then that's really as far as you get. Which, honestly, nowadays that's mostly what you get. No one really thinks about, well, where's this going to be in a couple months? So this is kind of where the story jumps, where Heather and I met for the first time. We both went to Binghamton, and the first time we met, if you guys ever gone to, this was American Eagle, but they sell just those necklaces, some of you guys are probably wearing them, little trinkets on them. I happened to be wearing one that had a cross on it, but it wasn't a religious cross. It's kind of like just a plain cross that you might see on the nurse station, or a red cross. Absolutely no real significance besides the fact that I thought it looked cool. But thank God I was wearing that cross, because me and Heather met. She took notice of it. And why that's important is because a few days later, I was walking through campus, and she was sitting just on a chair. And for some reason, maybe God, I sat down. I didn't know this girl too well, but I decided to sit down. We talked for about an hour. And what's special about that conversation, Heather brought up abstinence within about 30 seconds of us talking. That's not how to make friends in college. So, I mean, that was new to me. Obviously, and actually, I can skip the part. For me, abstinence, I was not totally committed to it. I, fortunately, up to that point, had not made any big mistakes, and I was chaste. But my goal at that point was, let's wait till I have something special. I have someone I really like. Let's just not make it be a random person. Let's make it a little more than that, but I wasn't exactly waiting for marriage. So the point is, when me and Heather were talking, to hear someone all of a sudden bust out abstinence you just met in college as a freshman and a sophomore, that really stood out. It really made her stand out as a holy, chaste, compassionate person that made her special and attractive, different than any other girl you guys are ever going to meet. And the point is that you guys need to be proud of that, because guys don't realize they're seeking that. And I'm kind of talking more to the girls here, even though it applies to the guys. You girls have to be proud and not be afraid to stand up and talk about this, because it's very easy to fall into the trap and just meet a guy who doesn't care and you forget about it. So be proud of that. And because Heather was proud of that, it made me lead my way to falling in love with her. I'm not going to, it takes a while. But anyway, you get the point. It set us on the right path. It left her in my mind as a wholly attractive girl that I now want to potentially be with. And actually what kind of set it, sometimes you think, I met this great girl. What kind of made it secure in my mind, God giving me a little kick in the butt where she's tossed a football like 50-yard bullet. I'm like, okay, that's the one. Give Heather a chance to talk.
Hi. So what was I looking for? Well, I'm very thankful for my family. I was able to witness a couple of beautiful, faith-filled marriages of my older siblings growing up. At the time, though, when I was in high school and college, if any of you recall my testimony from last year, I wasn't quite at the same place I am right now in my faith. I went to church out of guilt and fear, and that was really my primary reason. But that, thank God, kept me going. But after witnessing their faith-filled marriages, I really was attracted to that, and I knew that was something that I wanted as part of my life. And I bring this up because if you're one of the ones in the crowd right now who is not quite sure about everything that's been going on this week, or you haven't fully committed yourself to everything that is going on, hang in there. This whole talk does apply to you because, like I said, because I had that mentality where I wanted that faith-filled marriage, even though I didn't even have a faith yet. Really, hadn't had one of myself for myself. I wanted that possibility because I didn't want to end up in a marriage where, all of a sudden God decides to talk to me and communicate with me in some way, and I'm married to someone who's gonna drag me down and basically someone who is on a totally different page. So I knew that was something I wanted, and thank goodness I was open to that, and that's what I was looking for. And thank goodness for American Eagle crosses, because that got me, that at least opened my eyes to Mike. So what is the purpose of marriage? Our society will teach you love, companionship, security, and believe me, these things are important to a marriage as well. For instance, like me and Mike, we just have a lot of fun together. Even when it comes down to stupid things like folding the laundry, we have like sock folding contests to see who can fold the most socks first. And or if you go to weddings and it's fun. It is fun to always have someone who you just love being with. You go to weddings and you make up your own dance moves. Like we have our special catch the football. And even believe it or not, you guys don't even know what today is. Do you guys know what today is? Thursday. More importantly than Thursday, it is a very special holiday that me and Mike created 8 years ago. Not my birthday. Today, believe it or not, coincidentally, is August 19th, and it is not just August 19th. It is Couples Appreciation Day. The same way that every 19th of every month for me and Mike is Couples Appreciation Day, because we didn't want to celebrate our 1 week anniversary, our 2 week, and little did we know it'd be 8 years, and we'd look up and we'd still be celebrating Couples Appreciation Day. But that's what every 19th of every month.
Thanks for the cards, guys.
Yeah, appreciate it. But anyway, so it is definitely a lot of fun, but to tell you the truth, the love and the companionship and security in marriage is not really the purpose. Your real purpose in marriage is to help each other become who God created us to be. You can really do this in two ways. In one way, you're bringing your spouse to Christ. You are bringing them closer in their relationship to God, and you are helping them on their journey towards heaven. Like we said, that's your purpose of your life. Just in marriage, same thing. You're bringing that spouse as your partner. Their soul is your, pretty much your responsibility. But at least it's definitely your focus to really help them in their faith. The other thing is the other beautiful thing in marriage is that we can give new life. I don't know if you've ever stopped and thought about how incredible that is. I honestly, not until like maybe a couple months ago did I really think about the fact that God gives us the power to create with Him. We are taking, it's hard to wrap your mind around, but he puts another little human being inside of you. Like, that is just weird and awesome. I heard an amazing quote once from Scott Hahn. God empowered us to experience a love so profound that in 9 months it has to be given its own name. I thought that was pretty cool. It's incredible that we have the capability and ability to create with God and create a whole nother human life out of nothing. It's pretty great. Take it away.
So Heather kind of mentioned that you're supposed to lead each other to Christ. And just kind of to continue my story from before, one way Heather led me to Christ was I kind of mentioned that I had that seed of Catholicism in me, but it was kind of lying there dormant. And this goes back to why you want to be with someone who has faith, is you help nurture each other's seeds to grow. And when me and Heather started dating, she kind of kicked my rear in gear to let's start going to mass again. But let's pray a little bit more. Let's what else do I do? Let's go to activities. Meaning, some of you guys have been to Catholic Underground, right? Something else we go to called Faith on Tap. When you're a little bit older, you guys will get to check that out. That's fun too. So just things like that, really kind of pushing the discipline and the exercise that you need to make that seed grow. And just another way, just in Heather's personality, she's the most loving, generous, giving person you'll ever meet. And I try to do that too, but having someone with you that also does that, it helps. And just, before we get too cute, just a story. So yesterday we all noticed, we all noticed that we had a few more counselors come last night. So when the counselors came, he packed really, really lightly, didn't bring a blanket. I guess, to make him sound cooler, he's on a motorcycle, so he didn't have the room. But anyway, so he didn't bring the blanket. He forgot or didn't know how cold it would be. So it's like, Mike, you got a blanket? I'm like, oh yeah, I'll find you a blanket. So I go back up. I can't find a blanket. I'm like, Heather, do we have a blanket? She goes, give him ours. What do you mean, give him ours? It's gonna be cold. So you're gonna be cold. I don't want to be cold. So that's just kind of how she is. And the good news is we found an extra blanket. No one froze last night. The other way that this kind of bears its own special mentioning is just the chastity. Like I said, I wasn't necessarily waiting for marriage. I was just waiting for something. I can't even define what I was waiting for. Luckily, I was still waiting. But having someone else who's on that same page with you, because it's not easy. There's going to be times where you're going to fail, or want to fail, or be close to failing, basically struggling. And you need someone there to prop you up and help you out and just push you through. And it goes back and forth. And without someone, if that's something, like I said, you guys and girls want, having that, it's going to be darn near impossible if that's something you want and your significant other doesn't. So another reason that's something to look for, because it's really important, and you're going to stray from that road if you don't have someone, with their own little map. I don't know if I stole this analogy from Ryan, but maybe I made it up. It's kind of like, the occasion sin. The other thing that your spouse helps you avoid is the occasion of sin when you're dating. And in case you guys don't know what that means, sexual sin, if you're in the occasion of sin, which means putting yourself in a situation that might lead to sin, that's what you need to avoid. Because once you get to that point, it's probably too late. I'm not going to get any more detailed than that, but the analogy that either Ryan said or I made up is that imagine you're on a big cliff and there's a really great view, but you just gotta lean out. You're gonna lean a little bit closer, a little bit closer, a little bit closer. You're eventually gonna slip and fall, no matter how good of a grip you have. So why are you gonna put yourself in that danger of getting closer and closer and closer when you just know what the end result is? So, like I said, you really need someone to help you in that, and that's what Heather does.
I think that's funny. That's how Mike, when I wrote the speech and I was writing how I bring Mike closer to Christ, the first thing I thought of was the fact that I'm a saint maker. And I don't know if you know what that term means, but it basically means you're a pain in the butt. And so the more I'm a pain in the butt, the more he becomes close to Christ because he has to deal with me. So that's how I wrote the speech. But nonetheless, Mike actually brings me also very close to Christ. The way he's done this, number one, I'm just so thankful to God that he has given me someone like Mike. And it's just incredible that, he's blessed me with someone like that in my life. And that in itself has made me just have so much thanks and just respect for God for being so awesome. And the second way is that Mike really exemplifies what it means to be Christ-like. In everything we do, he is that first person to lay down his life for other people, but also just lay down his life for me every day. I get home from work, sometimes 3 hours later, based on my nursing schedule, and I get in and I'm like just totally exhausted, and there's dinner on the table, the dishes are done, and I can come and just be, and it takes a lot of humility for someone to do that for you, especially a man to serve you like that, and he, it's really loving and really something worthwhile. So and among that, as he talked about abstinence and everything else, he's very patient and kind, and just having him be so Christ-like has just reminded me of why I'm in love with Christ. Every day I get to walk with someone who's just like Christ and be around them, and it just reminds me of how amazing Christ is, and really just exemplifies him on a daily basis, and it personifies him in my life. So it's really nice.
Get it out. Okay, so we've been speaking about why you want to be with someone of faith, and just a few practical reasons. This is kind of quick. What you might not think about is that when you get older and get married, there's a lot of decisions you need to make. And if your faith plays into a lot of that, how you spend your money, how you spend your time, we're going to go to Mass, we're going to do something else, going to church, having children, like I said, spending money, like, I don't want to give to Camp Veritas, no, I want to give to Planned Parenthood. No, it doesn't work that way. Not everyone will get that. You might later. But it just being on the same page, practically, just really makes your life easier. Marriage is awesome. I guess I can't say it's not been that hard yet, but I know that marriage has its bumps. And why are you going to add a few more? Just having that bond between you is just going to make things go so much more smoother that you guys can focus on the other stuff that you have to disagree with or work through. It just doesn't make, it just makes it a lot easier. So you don't ever want to put yourself in a position where you have to choose between your spouse and your God. So it's just that important.
The other thing is that even at this point, you want to be obviously praying for your vocation, and if you do feel called towards marriage, you want to be praying for and for your future spouse, and also to find your future spouse. God will definitely lead you to that person, and he'll make it clear when you finally did run into that person for me, I wasn't even listening to God when we're walking in Walmart 8 years ago, and we're walking around, and we got to the front of the store, and our two friends were like, guess what, guys? Heather, your last name is Young. Mike, your last name is Kid. If you got married, your name would be Heather Young Kid. And meanwhile, I hadn't even thought twice about that, and we were still friends at the time, and it's funny that 8 years later we actually got married, So that was our first signal. It was kind of cool. Even after we were dating for 6 months, people actually, like 1 or 2 people came up to me and was like, you know who you'd be really good with? Have you ever met this kid named Mike Kidd? And I would be like, yeah, we've been dating for the last 6 months. Talk about a chaste marriage, or a chaste relationship, when people don't even know you're dating after 6 months. But nonetheless, things are good.
Back to Chastity. I feel like that's what I'm talking about today. So again, you guys had a Chastity talk a day or two ago, and it's kind of, I know in some of your guys' minds, it's kind of like, okay, all I gotta get through is this dating thing. I'm just crawling through the desert, and once I get married, I see that oasis over there, and then we're good to go. Like, that's it. Let me through. That's in the rearview mirror. We're done. Unfortunately, chastity doesn't end in marriage. It's practice for marriage, and I don't mean that in the way you guys are maybe thinking it. It's that everyone, no matter what your vocation is called to be chaste in certain times and situations. And the example is kind of, if I'm walking with my buddies down the street and a pretty girl walking the other way, and they all notice, make a comment or something. When I got married, God didn't take his big mighty God stick and bang me on the head and make me blind to beautiful women. I'm still going to notice them, and there's always a chance for temptation. And the point is that, the point is that being, told you, being tempted. The point is that you guys being chaste now is practice for your life. Because in your marriage, you're going to come across situations where you're going to be tempted seriously potentially, and you need the strength to say no and step back. And if you really think that, I'm gonna do my dating years and go crazy, then as soon as I get married, I'm gonna flip on that chastity switch and I'm good to go. It's not gonna be that easy. So by kind of starting now and getting that mentality, because like I said, it's a mentality and it's a discipline that it's not easy. We all know it's not easy. And by starting now, you're really setting yourself up for the rest of your life to have the strength to go the right path. Oh, and just kind of briefly on this. We all know the church says no to contraception. I encourage you all to learn about something called natural family planning. It's another way God calls us to be chaste. I'm not going to say any more about that right now. I know it well. If anyone has questions, I'm more than happy to talk about it. But that's another talk. I just didn't want to skip over that altogether. No. Okay. There's a fun part. Okay, so we've been kind of talking high level here. I think I said chastity about 1,000 times already. But the thing is, God also kind of works in funny ways, like what Heather was saying. Not only does he kind of guide you towards your spouse if you're praying and looking in the right directions, he also kind of makes you guys fit in kind of quirky ways. And one example is, I tend to be, if anyone who knows us, I tend to be a little more absent-minded and floaty and just kind of going with the moment. There's more, we gotta write it down, give me an Excel spreadsheet. So I used to lose stuff all the time, and I'm talking like important stuff, like my car keys and my wallet, like on every other day. Heather used to joke that I would come home, I'd walk in the house with my car keys in one hand and my wallet in the other. I'd walk into the room, and normal people would take these things and put in their little shelf or their box or somewhere important. I walk in, this is how she thinks I do it. I cover my eyes, spin around, throw it. And then I go into the kitchen and I get a snack. And then an hour later, I need my car keys. I gotta go somewhere, I need my car keys. So I start looking, and of course I can't find them. And after like 5-10 minutes go by, I'm like, I'm not telling Heather. She enjoys the fact that she knows how to find this stuff way too much. So I look for 20 minutes, and like finally I'm about to be late. I'm like, Heather, I lost my car keys, and she loves knowing that she can find stuff, which is why we fit so well together. And she'll walk in the room, give her like a 2-second scan, and go, there. And she'll walk over, she'll go, here it is. See you later. And it's just kind of funny how we fit together that way. And later I found out she's best friends with St. Anthony. She didn't tell me that.
Anyway, to wrap it all up, the main point we're trying to get across is that if you want a marriage that's successful, and obviously we're still young in our marriage, but we at least feel like we've started with the right building blocks. God has to be that foundation. Your relationship with Christ and your faith really has to be a center of that relationship for you together. And like you'll hear many times, God has to be that third person. Because believe me, our society's not telling you to stay committed and to be with that person. But with God as that center, you come into your relationship as a self-sacrificing person, ready to give. And the main practical ways to maintain that in your relationship is to be praying together daily and to be going to Mass and really just to have tons of friends and family to encourage you. So thank you so much.
What a great talk. I'm really blessed to have both Heather and Mike in my life. And so are all of you. I can't tell you how much work the two of them do for this camp and for you. I'll say it publicly now, it isn't written anywhere. If I die tomorrow, Heather, you're the director. Yeah.
I don't want it.
Yeah, she doesn't want it,
You'll double my pay.
Yeah, I'll double your pay. Their talk, you could just feel, hear, see, you can almost smell the love between them. It's palpable, right? You were around them, you could tell that, they're one body, right? Just a couple of other kind of slight add-ons. When you're dating anyone at this point in your life, always remember you will likely be married one day. Okay, always remember that whoever you're with at this moment is really just a shadow of your true love, your soulmate, the person you're going to be giving your entirety to for eternity. Okay? And so, when you date, if you keep that in mind, your love for your future spouse, your love for your future wife who you may not even know yet, your love for your future husband who you may not even know yet, chastity becomes a lot easier in that love for that person in the future. And I can guarantee you, when you're entering marriage, your spouse will know everyone you've ever been with. And I've never, ever, 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 ever met a couple truly in love with each other who said, boy, I'm glad I gave myself to everyone before you. Has anyone here ever heard of that? No. Think about that when you're with each other and how you interact and how you speak and so forth. Am I respecting the person I'm going to be married to later? And that's a big deal. Another thing is I know there's some of you who think you're impervious to temptation in all regards, and that you can just stand up at the last second. Let me tell you a story. In my profession, I'm around very aggressive women in my field. Okay, I do facial plastic surgery and ENT and that kind of stuff. But the women I work with, many of them are coming in because they are recently divorced and they're like 40, okay? And I really feel bad for them because they're like left high and dry and they just don't know where to go at this point. What do you do when you're 40, all right? And when I talk about divorce being 50%, think about that, 50%. And how many women are, up there feeling very lonely and they end up in my office and they're fairly aggressive. And you go in there day in, day out, and one day I get home, and my wife looks at me, and she goes, Ryan, I'm just so happy you're my husband because you're my lion, And I looked at her, and I said, in all honesty, honey, I'm not a lion. And she goes, what? I said, I'm a gazelle. And she goes, what do you mean? A gazelle is this little deer-like thing that runs real fast. I said, yeah, that's the one. Because I said, I see that lion coming, and I run my tail off. Okay? And that's actually the case. I know myself, all right? As strong as I think I am, I know I'm that much weaker, and I know I can't put myself in any situation where I can fall. That would include around alcohol especially, or around other people, you know, in those situations. I would never put myself in a private space with a woman ever, you know, at this point. And, you know, that's something you guys got to kind of consider in your life. You know, you may want to be very chaste, but if you're putting yourself into a room at a party or wherever with someone of the opposite sex and there's significant privacy, that's just, I mean, that's just setting yourself up for disaster, okay? So just think about that when you're around people. Modesty is another issue. When you dress, think about what effect it's going to have for other people, right? If you're wearing things that show body parts that really only your spouse should ultimately see, or hinting at it strongly enough that someone can imagine what it might look like, you're not doing anyone a real favor. I can tell you as a guy who wanted chastity, it's very hard being surrounded, you know, in that regard. In my walk in chastity, it's very hard. Guys, the same thing. You know, it's like wear your shirts between stations today. It's not just to be a jerk. It's because it's kind of mindful of, you know, you do have a body, and, you know, people are looking at it. Just use some common sense in that regard. So, you know, modesty in your life and in your prayer life and your walk with God is all very important. Anyway, so that's where we are. So, let's end with a prayer. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Lord, we just thank you this evening for the possibility of marriage. What a beautiful gift you've given us to find our bone of our bone and flesh of our flesh in this life. Help us to just be open to your will in all types of vocations, priesthood, single, married, religious. To just open our lives to your will and realize no matter what path you have and plan for us, that we are going to have the most absolute peace and joy in that plan, even if the path might be somewhat hard. Holy Spirit, do you have something else to say? Anyway, anyway, let's have a good time tonight before I let you guys go.